Wow, Palantir is gapping up a huge 11% right now in pre-market after very strong earnings, as is typical for the company. Let's do a little bit of analysis on the stock and see where we might be headed in the future, what are the price targets, and all the rest of it. So, the first thing I'm taking note of here, price was in a parallel channel, as it so often is. As you can see, we came into this channel and we managed to get out of it, but we came back down and did not have a successful sort of strong breakout that would have sent us parabolic on Palantir. And likewise, on the downside, we did actually break out of this parallel channel just to get any shorts excited that we might be breaking down. The other thing to note is this pattern very much is looking like a head and shoulders pattern, where you have one shoulder here, you have the head, and then you have another shoulder, and typically these patterns do break to the downside, so you can imagine that a lot of shorts would have been trapped at this point, and then you've got earnings making the stock move a lot higher. Now, it's not impossible that this could break down this head and shoulders pattern. In terms of price target that I'd be looking for from that, if it were to break down, we take the head to the neckline and we move it down here, and you'd be looking at a 40% decline to $87 or so, if that were to play out. Now, the base case at the moment has to be that since we've had a big move after earnings, this isn't necessarily going to play out, but I just want to be completely objective here. If this pump from the earnings does in fact get sold off and the bulls are not able to push the price back up, then you would imagine that the head and shoulders pattern could play out. So just keep that in mind, guys. Remember, it's no nonsense here. We are only looking at the charts and what the charts tell us. I don't have an opinion on the valuation of Palantir or anything like this. We're just looking at the charts and the probabilities. So let's look at the more optimistic case here. So we have managed to have a big move in pre-market. We'll see if that follows through on today. The upside target is the top end of the channel, of course, which right now is, a pretty good upside of about 20% up to $200 on Palantir. Now, of course, it is possible that we could break out of this channel. If we were able to, then the price target I would be looking at would be connecting these two lines here, and you would be looking up here to what is essentially around $230 on Palantir. You would maybe be able to get there in a couple of weeks, perhaps towards the end of the month, something like this. That's where I would be looking at for a very top-end target on Palantir. I think getting more than that is going to be difficult unless it were to go parabolic, but I don't see a reason for the stock to do that currently. It seems that perhaps it's already had its parabolic move, way back here. So I wouldn't necessarily anticipate further moves like that. So that would be my top-end price target. If you're optimistic on the stock, $230, a more moderate target at $200. So now that being said, as I've already stated, the head and shoulders pattern here may still play out. It's not impossible. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If the price action looks really bearish here, and the pump that we got from earnings does sell off, then just be careful, okay? I wouldn't want people to get trapped because that would be a pretty sizable move. Now, another thing to note is down here, there is a gap down here around the $96 level. You could imagine us getting back down there and perhaps even going a little bit lower, filling that gap. As I already said, the target for the head and shoulders would in fact be a little bit lower than this target here. So that's a level that I'm not surprised we could reach in some way if this were to break down. Now, of course, you've got to imagine that the move to the upside is perhaps more likely since we had this fake out of the parallel channel. I wouldn't be surprised if we are getting back up there and negating this pattern. So just keep that in mind. We're working with all the options here. If we were to look at very, very long term, I think Palantir at some point will have to break down because we do have another gap down here at $44, which should be filled at some point. You would imagine that we're going to have to go back, or maybe even $40, yeah, some kind of level around here. Probably quite a good buying opportunity, around $40 on Palantir. Now, even lower, we have another gap at around, where is this? About $18, and that is very low, right? But I don't think it's impossible that we could eventually revisit that price if we entered an extended sort of bear market and, AI names were getting sold off in a big way. That would be a massive move down. It would be a whole 90% essentially, but it's not impossible for tech stocks like a Palantir to get hammered in that way. By no means is it guaranteed that you're going to go down here at some point, but just keep that in the back of your minds, guys. It is possible that you could make it down to 18, in a couple of years if there was a long bear market or something like this. So just be aware of that. not the base case necessarily, and certainly right now we are targeting more upside as probably more likely than further downside, unless you get some very bearish price action here. But we're just open to all the possibilities, right? We've got targets now for the bullish case. If that doesn't play out, then we've got the bearish case identified at around, probably dropping all the way to $86, to be honest, something like this, before getting a rebound with longer-term negative bearish price targets as low as $18. If you're bullish on the stock long-term, that's fair enough, but at some point, due to the cyclical nature of the stock market, you're probably going to have a down period on even the very best stocks. So just keep that in mind. As bullish as you may be on a stock, the market will often require every stock to draw down a certain amount, just to push out the weak holders and allow accumulation at lower prices. So I hope that's helpful. Keep your wits about you in this market. Sometimes good to take profits if you have the opportunity to, and manage your risk appropriately, but I'm sure you guys are all experts at that at this point. Regardless, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe as always for more daily charts, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.